information that is deliberately misleading and, generally speaking, is orchestrated by powerful aggregations of power, wealth,
those are weird sounds.
Traditionally intelligence agencies. But misinformation on its own is no threat to democracy.
Well, let me turn it up.
Who is
there we go.
one of the most famous judicial minds in American history, said, and a Supreme Court justice said that the remedy for bad information is more information. If you live in a democracy, the primary foundation stone of a democratic system traditionally has been the free flow of information. And there's an understanding that the policies that are adopted in a democracy will have been debated in the Commons and then annealed in the furnace of fierce conversation and debate, and that the best ideas will rise in the marketplace of ideas, and they will become policies in a democracy. And that is the advantage that democracies in the minds of the framers had over totalitarian systems, because totalitarian systems are much more efficient than democracies. You don't have all the debate, you don't have the messy conversations and the compromises. You can, one guy makes the order and it gets done at every level.
But didn't that actually happen to you? Weren't you locked out of the Democratic Party in the last 6 months? Wasn't that people at the top locking out a potential candidate that had some interesting ideas? Isn't that
I mean, what I would say is that censorship is dangerous for democracy. That misinformation in an uncensored debate, in an uncensored society, is self-correcting. There's enough people who come in and point it out.
Do you feel like they did that in your case?
I've been systematically censored, and I'm not.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing, man. Because both sides of the angle, both sides of the political parties censor this guy. They say he's a loony. They say he doesn't. He's a conspiracy theorist, right? Now, most of the time, when both sides dislike a guy, the guy in the middle is probably right. Just saying, right? Yeah, let's continue.
Just saying that to complain. I'm not complaining about it. I did, I've won a lawsuit. I'm in the Court of Appeals in a lawsuit called Biden versus Kennedy. Judge Doty, the federal judge in that, has written a 155-page decision detailing the meticulous. This was government-orchestrated censorship, which is illegal.
Yeah. Without Edward Snowden, we didn't learn our lesson when he pretty much outed them for spying on everyone, right? I might watch that movie after this. Wonderful movie. Side note. But we're probably going to skip ahead in this and get to the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. Sometimes it's hard to listen to RFK. Not that he's a rude guy, but his voice, I don't mind if he's president, but sometimes his voice is hard to listen to. Not gonna lie about it. Not trying to be rude, the guy has a condition. But boys, I'll be back in a second. I'm gonna go get a coffee. I'm not gonna let this play while we're doing that. I'll just be back in a second. Take like a minute. Sorry, boys. I should have came with coffee. All right, boys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay.
Government is now under injunction to stop it. It doesn't mean they have stopped it, but it means they're under order.
So it's pretty efficient. They got what they wanted.
They got what they wanted in that, and they deplatformed me from Instagram. I had 1 million followers, and they just wiped them out. I think the more damaging censorship to me during the campaign has been private censorship by the big media companies. So in 18 months, ABC,
Sorry, boys, I had to
CBS,
test it.
NBC, CNN, MSNBC, those networks are the primary networks. I've only been on one live debate, which was on CNN on Aaron Burnett, and then this week I was allowed on my first debate. It was a live interview. I was allowed on a taped interview this week by Major Garrett on CBS. I had 2 small taped interviews on Michael Smerconish, and other than that, there's a blackout that is directed toward me on all the major media sites. Now, the implication for me...
But isn't there a percentage that you have to qualify for, like, for debates? Like, do you technically qualify for what should be? Although the debates have changed already.
Yeah, I mean, my numbers, my polling, first of all, polling numbers have nothing to do with what they do or don't cover. When I had much higher polling numbers than, for example, Ross Perot. Ross Perot was on network television every night, and he ended up, getting 19% of the vote. He probably would have won the election, but he dropped out halfway through the election, and then because there was a threat against his daughter. And when he came back in, he never caught where he'd been, and he ended up with 19%. But when he left, he was almost at 40% in a 3-way race, which would have given him a clear victory.
So that's a big change.
Now, what does that say, right? So everyone is trying to get him to drop out. Trump was trying to say, hey, come endorse me, buddy. Hey, boy, come and endorse me. You know what I mean? Then Joe Biden, the government didn't give him Secret Service protection, knowing his history, bro. Knowing what his family went through. You're not going to give our boy Rfk Jr. Secret Service protection? You're not going to protect him, hold his hand or something? And then after the assassination, right? Not the assassination, the attempt. My bad. Thank goodness, right? Thank goodness. They finally gave him Secret Service protection. And now it just seems like both sides are trying to push him out. That says a lot. They're scared. They're crying. They're peeing their pants. And they won't even put him on a debate stage, even though he's about to be on all 50 ballots, bro. They're scared. They're terrified of our boy.
You're saying back then he was on air every night, and now you're being boxed out. What? You're alluding to a conspiracy here that some people at the top said, let's cut Kennedy
It's not
off.
a conspiracy, bro. You can see it. You can see it. It's the Matrix, as Andrew Tate says. No, I'm joking. But no, I had to zoom in. Sorry, boys. You can see it, bro. It's not a conspiracy theory when it just proves it from all sides of the angle. Why are people being dumb? No offense. Little dumb idiots. Okay, sorry.
Well, I try not to talk to speculate about things that I don't have evidence for. But the evidence I have is that nobody is letting me on.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how that decision is made or how it's come down. I talked to a friend of mine the other day, the day that President Trump was shot, the assassination attempt, and I was being asked to go on all of the News Nation, the kind of conservative network.
Thank you,
News
brother.
Nation, Fox News.
Hey, man, hold up. I'm just gonna call you Train. My bad, guy. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I have autism. But man, thank you for this, because I didn't even know it came out, brother. Thank you for it, man. Thank you for your beautiful comments, my guy. But yeah, Train, I didn't even know this video, so I appreciate you for linking it, my guy.
And others, but the mainstream media was not inviting me on, and I called a friend of mine at CNN who is my little brother's best friend. And I said to him, why don't you, he's an anchor there, and I said, why don't you have me on? And I heard him kind of, going like, ebony, what? And then he sent me a text later and said, I can't do it. And I called him and I said, is there a written policy
yes, sir, man,
that says that you're not...
I might yap on for a second, brother. That's what we need, man. When election day comes, my brothers and sisters, because there's women that watch me for some reason. We gotta come together on election day, boys. Like Ruin Kitty said, I don't know if he said this, but diamond hands, baby. Diamond fucking hands. We gotta come together. We gotta work together, like Train said, man. Because they don't think he can win, bro. He's the underdog. And America loves an underdog story, right? I love it. We all love it. Everybody loves it. But this guy, Rfk Jr., thank you, Train. You're 100% right. We have to work together. Because if we don't work together on this, and if you truly believe he can win, we got to come together, work together, and vote this guy in. Because he can win. Let's go, dude. Oh yeah, boys, we're gonna do a stock live stream, and I'm gonna, study it. I'm gonna invest in GameStop a little bit because it's gonna keep on going up, bro. It's gonna keep on going up. But that's a little side note. But, bro, he's the guy, dude. RFK. I think he's better than Trump. In my opinion, he is better than Trump because he doesn't play this two-party system, bro. He's not in the two parties. The Democrats kicked him out. Them little blue hair bitches. No, I'm joking. Sorry. And then the cousin kissers. I'm gonna be nice about it. The Republicans don't like him either. They say he's a liberal. RFK. He stands for what I believe in, bro. He stands for it, dude. 10 toes down. And that's why I like the guy. That's why he's got my vote, bro. I mean. Oh yeah, guys, it's gonna be uploaded as a video. Got you to do the YouTube thing. Leave your comments of why you support him, or how do you think he can win? Support. Let me try that again. A lot of autism. Just drunk a coffee. But guys, leave a comment of why you think he can win, and why you support him. Or if you don't, let me know why. So we can all brainstorm, come together, and work together. Like Train said, dude. W-Train.
Allowed to let me on, and he said, well, let's just put it this way. There's a big hesitancy about it. So I don't know how the message gets down. I don't know, if there's a memo or whether they do it in editorial meetings. But
yes, sir.
It definitely is a policy.
Is it also related to all the controversy over vaccine, and is this guy a whack job? I mean, is he? I mean, you've been characterized in all sorts of ways that I find
bro. How is he a damn whack job, right? Disrespect my boy like that. How is he a whack job? When this is what they do, bro. Whoever doesn't have the same opinion with him, they would call him crazy, mentally unstable, right? Some people done that to me. No, I'm joking. But they call these people who bring facts and say, hey, this is bad. This is terrible. And they call him a whack job because these people are stuck in their ways and they want to make a lot more money. Because the truth doesn't make you money. The truth does not make you a millionaire most of the time. Almost every time, it does not make you rich. Telling people and lying to people and telling them what they want to hear is going to make you rich. Plain and simple. But telling the truth, okay, I'm going to go to the Bible route real quick. The disciples, they didn't become millionaires for telling the truth. They got slaughtered. They got murdered. Except John, I think. Telling the truth, like RFK is doing, it's not going to make you rich. It's going to make you an outsider. And the outsider is the one that changes things, man.
But is that why you think?
Well, I think
you have to be on the right side of science.
That's a chicken-egg question. If they decide to brand me a whack job because they didn't want me on talking about it, or do they actually believe that?
Yeah.
And, I've said for 20 years, thousands upon thousands of times, I'm not anti-vaccine. But that pejorative is applied.
Okay, this is a great interview. He brings up a lot of the misinformation that is being told by the mainstream media and allowing him to tell the truth in his own words, what he believes and would do. Yeah, and I love that, man. Good point, man. We're gonna finish it. We're probably gonna watch the whole thing because it's pretty good. Not gonna lie. Yeah, it's crazy what the mainstream media does just to protect their own. I mean, of course, you guys know that. You guys are smart, man. Really smart. Not trying to glaze you up or anything, but you guys are some smart fellas. And ladies. Ladies don't want to misgender. But 100% right, man. Yeah, that's why I love RFK, man. He says, don't vote for me because I'm a Democrat. Vote for me because of what I believe in. That's some true shit. Excuse the French, sorry. But that's why I'm going to vote for the fella. Because he says, don't vote for me because I'm a Democrat. Because that whole system's rigged. It's BS. Loaded baloney.
As a way to silence me, to say, oh, he hates all vaccines, therefore he must be crazy, and therefore he's dangerous, and we shouldn't let him have a platform. Even if I was anti-vaccine, they should still let me on and have somebody debate me, somebody who's much smarter than me, and who can, tell people why that's not a proper belief.
I don't want to waste a lot of time on that, but because we got a lot of stuff we got to talk about here. But why don't you use this forum right now to say, here's my position, because you've been obviously an environmentalist. You've been an advocate for children's rights and children's health and things. What exactly is your vaccine position, without getting into all of the vaccines and COVID and everything? Summarize it.
Yeah, my position is that if you want a vaccine, you ought to be able to get a vaccine.
Yeah,
you ought to know the safety profile and the risk profile of that vaccine and the efficacy of that vaccine. And that's it.
Okay, that's good.
That's it.
Yeah, you nailed it. Part of this is about, right now, there's so much disrespect of leaders, institutions, and certainly experts. And maybe that's okay. It seems like it's a little bit of a breakdown, because when people don't respect institutions, the rule of law goes out with it. Like if the cops are beating up people in difficult neighborhoods, so what? They double park. They see what's going on. I mean, there's a correlation between a general breakdown in respect of institutions and experts. Can we fix that, or should we not worry about it?
I think I can fix it.
How would you do that?
Because I make people don't trust institutions.
Yeah.
I would make the institutions trustworthy.
Yes. Dude, I didn't expect that, bro. That was a cold fucking answer, dog. Ooh, man. I'm gonna make him trustworthy. Dude, I'm not trying to glaze, bro. Oh my goodness, bro. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear, bro. Make him trustworthy? Dude, W's, bro. W's.
Issue an executive order that any federal official who lies to the American public in conjunction.
This is my guy, bro. This is my guy.
Will immediately lose his job at every level of government.
Mm-hmm.
And then
we wouldn't have had any leaders the last few years.
Yeah, that's true. And the whole idea, that they were telling us during COVID again and again and again, trust the experts, and shaming people who did their own research and saying, oh, that's a bad thing, like literally saying you shouldn't do your own research.
Mm-hmm.
Well, trusting the experts is not a feature of either democracy or science. It's the opposite.
Say that again. I didn't get that.
It's not a feat. In democracy, you never trust the experts. My father told me, people in authority lie.
Yes.
Our job in a democracy, the job of being a citizen in a democracy, is to maintain a posture of fierce skepticism toward public pronouncements. You shouldn't believe anything that public tells you.
Bro.
That's our duty.
And the role of the press.
And the press now lies. You know, when I was a kid, the press was actually a check on government lying, but now they've become just bullhorns and sock puppets for the government they're supposed to be questioning. They were the ones who were telling us, you know, the whole time, you're a bad person if you do your own research. Just do what you're told. And by the way, and it's a feature of religion, trusting the expert. It's a feature of totalitarian systems, but not democracy or science. I've brought over 500 successful lawsuits.
Well, hold up. Hold up. I do like that, but I do, you know, I gotta bring up religion again. It's like when people have a bad view of, you know, Christianity, right? Because that's what I believe in. Don't want to force that on you guys. But, right, I only want to trust God, right? Make him number one and all that stuff, right? And not trust government, right? I really like what he's saying about government, not trusting them. I lost my train of thought. Let's continue.
All of them involve scientific controversy. I got into law because I was interested in science, this kind of law.
That was awful.
And on each side, in each of those lawsuits, there is an expert who says one thing based upon the evidence they're looking at, and an expert says the other. My wife, who's an actor, Cheryl Hines, came to my when I was trying the Monsanto case. She came up and watched a couple of days of trial in Oakland. And Monsanto came into the trial, and they had an expert. The day she sat there, there was an expert from Stanford, an expert from Yale, an expert from Harvard, all very convincing. And
Well, sorry, boys. I gotta pause it once again. Then we get back to it. What I was saying is the whole science part. Didn't really fully understand that, but I don't really trust science. I trust God more because there's proof of it, right? There's proof of existence. You know what he did on the cross, all that stuff. That's what I meant to say. There's proof of Jesus and the disciples, and how many written documents there are. Proof of that. That's what I meant to say. Had a brain fart. I had to come back and fix that.
End of the day, you know, why are you suing these poor company? They're obviously telling the truth. Listen to, you know, what those experts said. And I said, wait till tomorrow. And then the next day, we had experts from Yale, Harvard, and Stanford. At the end of that, she came out so pissed off at Monsanto, she wanted to bury the company. So trusting the experts is not something that you ever do. Experts have their own slate of biases, and they have their own reasons, their own perception issues. They make their own statistical flaws and errors. My job as an attorney is to be able to read science critically and deconstruct it, and then take an expert, put him on the stand, and and make him break down. Because what he's saying to a lot of the experts, what they're saying to is not true. During COVID, we had a bunch of people who were in white lab coats and had, doctor in front of their name, and were telling us things that I knew at that time not to be true. Why? Because I was reading the science. I was reading the monkey studies in May of 2020. And the monkey studies, they gave the vaccine to the monkeys, and then they had a placebo group that got no vaccine, and they got the same level of SARS-CoV-2 of the coronavirus in their nasal pharynx, no difference. So I knew then it could not prevent transmission, and when I said it's not going to prevent transmission, they have no proof that it's going to prevent transmission. But they were all telling us, you got to get this. You got to get this to protect grandma, because it's going to protect her from transmission. It's irresponsible of you not to get it, because you're going to infect other people, yet their own science, the only science they had was those monkey studies. That literally was the only science. And it was saying it's not going to prevent transmission, yet they were lying again and again to the public. And when I said that, they called me a conspiracy theorist. And, that brand sticks. When I said that glyphosate, which is the active ingredient of Roundup, causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, I was called a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, yeah, that was in his Who is Bobby Kennedy. That was a wonderful video. Sorry for pausing it. Let's, I got to urinate. Drank too much water and coffee. I'll be back in a second. We'll continue this. Not pause much from here on out and yap. I'll be back in 1 second, boys. Alright, boys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Drunk too much water, man. Too much H2O, baby. Alright, let's continue.
I try cases in front of juries, and I'm careful about what I say and how I use science, and I'm very meticulous about it.
Another thing you get is, you're a little bit of a policy wonk. It reminds me a little of Dukakis. Like, these issues, you break them down. I don't want to say you go down rat holes, but that's not really who you are, though. You're not you think about this stuff, but this day and age, people.
I would say I am. I'm not. I wouldn't compare myself to Dukakis.
He was a good candidate.
He was a good guy. But
yes, sir.
I want to understand.
Appreciate it, my guy.
How things work, and I want to understand. Ultimately, I think all of our function here in the universe is to pursue existential truths, to really understand what the objective truth is. And for me, that requires me to go granular on every issue. So any issue that I go on, whether it's Israel and Gaza or Ukraine or any of the issues, economic issues, I really, I read voraciously, I question people, I try to understand both sides of I talk to people always on both sides and try to figure out what actually is true.
So you don't wake up in the morning preparing your sound bites.
No.
We're now reacting to sound bites and what's hot and and there doesn't seem to be any depth and you seem to offer that. Let's move. You just mentioned I guess Ukraine or the Middle East.
By the way, let me just say one thing. When my Aunt Jackie Kennedy, when she met my uncle for the first time, he was a senator in 1956, and she was interviewing him for a newspaper, and she asked him a question, and she said, "What is your greatest quality?" And she thought he was going to say courage because, he was a war hero during World War II. He's the only president who earned the Purple Heart.
Dang.
He wrote a book on courage called Profiles of Courage, for which he won the Pulitzer Prize. And it was about all these different U.S. politicians who had put their careers behind love for our country. And so she thought he'd say courage. But that's not what he said. He said curiosity.
Curiosity.
And, to me, that more and more, the longer I live, to me, that seems like one of the greatest, most important things
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
You mentioned the war, though, and
curiosity. I like that.
We spent $2 trillion.
Like this thing. Okay, I hate to pause it, but I forgot the name of the show. Ted Lasso. One of my favorite sports shows of all time. It's just beautiful. Watch that, guys, if you want to. It's a guy with a cool mustache like me. Look at this fuzzy thing on my lips, dude. It's beautiful. But he said, be curious, not judgmental. Something great to live by, honestly. I need to live by that more. But being curious leads to a place of learning. Daggone. I've never been so excited to vote for anyone in my life than this man, and I am turning 40 soon. Happy early birthday, my man. Happy early birthday. So I believe I've been... Yeah, man. I mean... Yeah, being around for all those elections, man. I mean, all those terrible presidents. I'm with you on that, man. I mean, I've only really been around for, like, technically one, Trump. I knew, like, when Obama and a little bit of George Bush. But yeah, man. I feel that, dude. I mean, I can see that. This guy just seems like the guy that can change things, you know? I don't have all the experience that you have, you know, which is a lot of experience, right? I'm only 24. But yeah, man, I can see that, bro. Because RFK just seems like the guy that can win. He can win, and he will. Right? Just seems like the guy that would change things through his experience in life, his family, and what he stands for. Really seems like he stands for the American people. You know, we haven't had that in politics in forever. Frankly, excited has never been born in this case. Yes, sir. I feel that, man. That's true. I wasn't until now, which is amazing. He actually wants to help Americans. Yeah, for real, bro. True. I mean, dude, his whole career, he's been helping Americans, bro. And now it just seems like he will, dude.
$1 billion, I think. I'm rounding out numbers here. On 2 failed wars. We're now up to 300 or 400 billion in Ukraine,
in Iraq, and
Afghanistan. I think it's $2 trillion.
It's 3.6 trillion.
See, it's thank you. Correct the press. We need to be corrected. So 3.6. Okay, we're what? Several $100 billion into Ukraine, if not more. We're several $100 billion into the Middle East. We probably spent a ton of money we're not aware of already in what could be an unfolding conflict in Asia.
Let me zoom out.
Can this country afford that anymore? Another trillion or 3.6 collective trillion in 2. Can we afford that? And isn't it time to at least change it, shut it down, do something so that we can have that great peace dividend like we had at the end of the Cold War in the 90s, and we had a roaring economy, we had all kinds of good things that happened during that decade?
Yeah, we were promised a peace dividend in 1992 when the walls came down. And at that time, our military budget was about $6 billion, and we were told that it was going to be cut down to $2 billion, and that would be enough to protect the homeland, to protect the neutral areas, the sea lanes, neutral areas like the Arctic, and be able to fight two, not full-scale wars, but basically to fight incidents on 2 fronts. And but we never got it. It went up.
But we balanced the budget as a function of the cutbacks, correct?
We didn't really balance the budget. I mean, the thing that got us out of those early deficits was Silicon Valley, was the explosion of the tech industry. And that's really the only way to get out of deficits, is to develop new industries. Or to shift the money away from the military toward things that are going to grow your GDP. You cannot cut your way out of it at $35 trillion. We turned $35 trillion yesterday. You can't ever cut your way out of it. You have to cut the things that are not growing GDP, and you have to apply them to grow to GDP. But let me say this, which is a side issue. We cannot fight a war anymore. We spent all this money in Iraq, as you point out, $3.6 trillion. And what did we get for it? Iraq is now worse off than we found it. We killed more Iraqis than Saddam Hussein. We drove Iraq. Iraq is now just an incoherent, it's not really a nation, it's just a warring bucket of Shia and Sunni death squads. We pushed it into a proxy posture with Iran, which is exactly the foreign policy outcome we've been trying to avoid. for 30 years. We created ISIS. We drove 4 million refugees up into Europe, and we destabilized every nation in Europe. They're all, riots today. That ended up with Brexit, breaking up Europe. And now, we're doing the same thing with the Ukraine war, which is, and we're poor. We're $4 trillion poor.
Yeah.
The Ukraine war has driven Russia, which should be our ally, into a alliance, a very deadly alliance with China and with Iran, which never was an ally of Russia ever in history. And they're now all aligned against us, and they're stronger than we are. We're acting like we could still win a war.
We can't.
We can't win a war in this country anymore. Why is that? We won World War II because we had an industrial base in this country. We had the automobile industry. We were making ball bearings. We were making steel plate. We were the biggest manufacturer in the world. And we were able to repurpose that to make 56,000 airplanes a month, a ship a day. This extraordinary arsenal of democracy. Well, what happens if we have to do that today? We can't do it. We don't have any industrial base. We've exported our entire industrial base to China. We've stopped teaching the trades in school. That's how irrelevant industry is to our country. You have a generation of students now, under 20s, millennials and Gen X, who don't know how to hammer a nail. They don't know how to use a jigsaw. They don't know how to put in rivets or anything that you need to do to have the population to make an industrial base. And we have no infrastructure. The Chinese do, because we exported it there. The next war is going to be a drone war.
What was your favorite part about this video, Alfred? What do you like most about this, man? Because I definitely like the part of, like, people not trusting. I like the part about him talking about how people don't trust the government. And RFK just said, "Hey, I'm going to make the government more trustworthy." That is beautiful. That is what we need.
One company, just one of many, many companies that make drones, one company makes 76% of the drones in the world. And that is those are the assets that are going to win the next war. Iran too, and they have, and then they also have hypersonic missiles. We have a 12 aircraft carrier, the most advanced aircraft carrier in the world. China only has 2. But all of our hypersonic missiles cannot be stopped. They explode like a nuclear
But that
bomb.
would suggest we should spend more in military.
Well, what I'm saying is all 12 of our aircraft carriers will be at the bottom of the ocean the first 24 hours of a war.
Yeah.
So we can't, and that's what the Trump people are now saying, because this Pentagon report came out yesterday. It says America can no longer fight a war. President Trump is saying, well, we need to increase our military. That's the opposite of what we need to do. What we need to do is cut the military in half. The military we have now is not about national defense. We went from $6 billion, and we were told it was going to go to $2 billion. It's now $1.3 trillion.
Whoa.
If you throw in the nuke program and the national security and the exports to Ukraine. The straight Pentagon budget is $900 billion. We need to cut that in half, and that's what I'll do. You can protect our country. That is adequate. That is more. And we were spending in 2024 dollars at the height of the Cold War. Why do we need more money now in the military than at the height of the Cold War? Because we're not spending it on national defense. We're spending it on global domination. We have 800 bases abroad. The Chinese have 1.5. The Russians have 1.
You're scaring the shit out of me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, bro, this is scary, bro.
You mentioned something about how to grow an economy. The old economic principle was just what you said: increase productivity through technology. The second thing, though, is expand the labor force. A big part of America's success economically over history is open borders and allowing people to come into this country. You're seeing it already in New York City. I'm seeing when I go there, they're digesting these immigrants, even though there's controversy. They're at work. You see a young white girl training an immigrant to how to wait tables and how to pick up dishes, and they're absorbing these. And it's helping, I would argue, already, and I'm not taking a position on this, the New York economy. Then there's the flip side of letting in all the illegal. Where do you stand on immigration? And it seems like everyone's failing at figuring that out.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that there is a net gain to the New York economy from the 110,000.
Not yet, but it could happen.
Well, yeah, it could happen. But here's what I think. I think we cannot let the Sinaloa drug cartel run our immigration policy.
Mm-hmm.
We need to close the southern border and close it and secure it so that people are not coming across. And you're right, we need people in this country. We need workers in this country. There's 10 million jobs, and particularly I talk to small business people every day.
Hell yeah, brother.
And the two things...
Yes, sir, Train. Anyhow, I am from Minnesota, signed to help to get RFK on the ballot, waiting for my yard sign now. Got to do what I can to help. Yes, sir, man. We gotta help the guy. W man. W mans. Yeah. I like it so far, man. And for some reason when America says that we need a closed border, but people can still come in. I don't see a problem with that. I like the way he's saying it so far. But there are drug cartels in Mexico. There are gangs anywhere, but it is weird that people think it's bad to close down our border. I think we should fix it, because anybody can come over. There should be a system where it's like, okay, if you have everything that you need to come into a country to have a great life, come on in. You're American now, right? I like that part. But if it's like terrible people coming over, not everyone that comes from Mexico is terrible. Let me make that clear. But you gotta make sure that good people are coming in. Yeah, I'm sure he is, because it's RFK, dude. But yeah, let's continue. I yapped on.
They talk about his taxes and no available labor. We need to get them labor, but we need to do that by widening the gates for legal immigration.
Yes, sir.
Wait a second. So you say close the border, and then you just have a tight little funnel like we had out here for security to let people in some way.
There we go, Trey. There we go, man.
Millions of people who are trying to get in this country legally. They're waiting in line. Some have to wait 7 or 8 years. We need to hasten that so they can get it right.
What is that? The bureaucracy you're going to go in and somehow change?
Yeah, we're going to make sure that there's personnel. We're going to change the rules to make a faster path to citizenship and make sure that every business in this country that need worker can get them right away.
Oh, that's awesome.
Even if we have to create a new class of visas, but those jobs, if we're going to keep our Social Security system solvent for a couple more years, we need people paying taxes. We need people working. We need small business to flourish.
Yeah, I thought. Definitely small businesses, and setting up where they can come in and work. I hope he covers the part where we create, I know he said this earlier, but bring back the jobs from other countries. Because I think that's one of the big issues. But I think we need to get the industries back in America. Like Detroit's a fallen state. We need to get the jobs that we used to have. Like, we used to have cotton mills everywhere. We used to have all these jobs everywhere. We need to bring back these industries that we lost. Because it used to be like, oh, made in America. But now it's made in China. Nothing wrong with China. But we don't have those industries anymore. Like what he said, we don't make boats or anything anymore. We ship all this stuff over to China and they make it, or however it works, right? And we get things made in other countries. It's made cheap over there.
And that means getting a lot more workers in this country, both the people that we need to bring in are not people from, emptying the prisons in El Salvador and Cuba and, and China. They're people that who want to come in, who waited in line. And
I think one also thing we have to look out for about the federal IDs. Now, if they use that federal ID thing, now you can call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, right? You can. You have that right too. Or call me a crazy man, But if they start saying that we have to use a federal ID to get food and stuff like that, or put a chip on our hands, there'd be a major problem with that, right? Call me crazy, but if they start saying, hey, you need something, and you say God is pretty cool and whatnot, can't buy food or anything, definitely something to look out for. $50 billion from the military budget will help us do a decent amount if there are programs. Yes, I agree with that, man, because if we keep on paying the governments, I think, if we take that money and use it to get the businesses back that we lost through the trade in the 90s with Bill Clinton, and bring those jobs back because of the United States, Mexico, and Canada deal back in the 90s, took the jobs away and sent them to Mexico, right? Those hurt us, right? That deal was like a deal in the 90s, but it didn't take full effect until like the 2000s. Well, I don't think you need it, but you can't use Social Security, for instance. That is true. That is true. Security card, I mean. But I think one of the biggest things is we need to... I like Kennedy is he has a lot of ways to fix most of our problems. And I like that, right? I like it. Yeah, it could be a fake. One thing that I'm down for that I know Kennedy is probably gonna do, maybe, gotta look more into it, but take the federal government out of a lot of our problems, right? I think the federal government shouldn't be as powerful as it is, and put it more in the hands of the state, right? A little bit more states' rights, because I feel like the government is just too powerful right now, right? I like what he's talking about taking the money, creating programs from the government, right? Making programs to take from the money from the military-industrial complex. Yeah, that could work. Crypto ID. Need to get into crypto once I get up. I think that. But yeah. These times are just insane, bro. Because we have to choose. I'm probably going to vote for RFK. I want to keep on investigating this fella, I like this interview so far. A lot of good solutions, right? A lot of good solutions to some problems that we face as a nation. And he's... Hold up. Let's check out on how many he's confirmed real quick and how many he's claimed, right? So he's claimed all these states, right? All these states he's claimed. We're going to hear in the video in a second. But all these are claimed. Now, when he gets confirmed on all these states, he's going to get on all the states within a month or in a couple of weeks. But this guy can actually win. Now, he needs to get the percentage up. But, we get the percentages from these mainstream medias. I think he's doing well with the young folk, with people of my age, which is awesome to see because, a lot of young people don't go into politics anymore. But I think this is the most important election that we need to win. We need to win this election because it's so important. We're almost in a recession. The stock market's going down. People are starting to lose jobs. So we need someone to get voted in to fix this, right? We need someone to back our views and fix the situation we're in. And it seemed like
who've gone through
this is the guy.
Process and are not just paying $10,000 to the Sinaloa drug dealers to smuggle them across. And I've sat there at the border, watched 300 people come across in 2 hours between 2 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the morning at Yuma. And they were coming up in giant white buses, brand new, that were all owned by the cartel. 55 people a bus. The first 2 buses emptied out. They were all young men from West Africa of military age.
That's crazy.
They came across, and then the second 2 buses, that's another 110 people, were mainly from Asia. They were from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. I talked to every one of them. China, most of them were from China. There was only 2 from Latin America the entire night, and they were the only ones who had asylum claims. The rest of them said, we want to be here to work. But they're not the people who are obeying the law or going through the process. But
not everybody that's coming across. You're saying everybody is a threat like that? I mean, that...
No, I don't know. There's no way to know who's a threat and who's not. But there's a lot of people coming across, almost certainly.
That are a threat.
Or threats, yeah.
Is that the Achilles heel for the Democrats? I mean, it seems like it is.
I think it is, particularly for Kamala, because she was in charge of the border. So I think she has. I think that she has a lot to explain about that, and then I think she has another vulnerability, which is that it feels like she was gaslighting us on President Biden's condition.
Yeah.
Because she was meeting President Biden every day and coming out and saying he's great. And so I think she has some of those vulnerabilities.
She has incredible momentum, though. I feel like their campaign to bring her in, they'd had been working on that for 6 months. Someone had just
No, I feel like they had it, don't want to sound like a weirdo, but from the very start. That's all I'm going to say about it.
The Brat Summer, all of that was very clever and seemed very effective. And maybe that's normal for a honeymoon of a candidate.
Nothing was normal.
Yeah.
About this.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly. Let's shift to the economy really quick.
Let's go.
We have a bunch of people here that are very worried, and all over the world I found are worried about housing affordability. And you're one, I think, the only candidate that's really come forth with a set of policies on housing. And I don't want to get into the weeds. You're not a real estate expert. We didn't invite you up for that. Mm-hmm. But what's your recommendation of what we might do to tackle housing affordability?
I mean, what I'm most worried about is that we're seeing more and more, first of all, the affordability. We've gone from the average home price, $215,000 2 years ago, to $400,000 now, and the interest rate 7%. I have 7 kids.
There you go.
My oldest is 40, and he's in a home. His younger siblings all went to the best colleges. They all have great jobs, and none of them is contemplating buying a home. And I love the fact.
Have you not offered to pay their down payment or help them out at
all? A couple of them are already on the payroll, and I'm trying to get them off the payroll. But I can. But I love them living at home. But it's not, it's not the American dream. We had this country. When I was a kid, was the wealthiest country on earth. We owned half the wealth on the planet when my uncle was president. And part of that was because, the industrial base of Europe was destroyed during World War II. Ours was cooking, and we were making everybody in the world. We made all the transistor radios, all the television sets in the world. We made the cars that everybody wanted. We made blue jeans. Everything people wanted was American at that time. But even more important, after World War II, we got every American into a home. So the GI Bill did part of that, the highway system, and a lot of other federal laws that made it very, very easy. And at that time, there were no zoning laws, really. There were no local, planning laws, so it was very easy to build big housing tracts. And average price of a home, the average income when I was a kid was $5,000. The average price of a home was about $7,000. So everybody could get into a home. And then once you're in a home, everything changes. Because now you care about your community, you care about your schools, about your police, about your transportation, about your hospital, your healthcare. You care about the appearance of your home, you care about your neighbors, but more importantly, most importantly, you have equity, which means you can borrow money. And if you can borrow money and you have an entrepreneurial impulse, you can pursue it. So you can build a yoga studio or a bowling alley or a sporting goods store or, or a bookstore or whatever. And this ferment of economic activity that was rooted in home ownership when I was a kid made our country the wealthiest country in history. We owned half the wealth on the face of the earth, and the American middle class was the greatest economic engine in the history of mankind, and it was all rooted in home ownership. When we're going today from a nation of owners to a nation of renters, and when we do that, we're going to go from being citizens to being subjects. It's the old feudal model, it's the colonial model, where the wealthy own the land, they own all the means of production, and the rest of us are working for them. And it's not.
So what do we do about it? What do we do about it?
Number one, I would make it much less advantageous in the tax code for these big investment houses, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, Fidelity, Blackstone, to buy tens of thousands of houses. And that, I think 30% of the houses last year were bought or 26% were bought by investment firms. And so many people I know had the experience of having a house going into escrow on a property, and we're about to sign a contract, and at the last minute, somebody comes along and buys the house at 20% over asking price for cash. And you say, well, who is that who just grabbed my house? And then it's an LLC with an ambiguous name, and then you follow the strings, and it leads you back to one of these.
So you would remove the tax incentives for that, and get them out of the business, freeing up that supply.
I would also, yes. I would also, I'm going to create what my uncle created, which is a 3% mortgage for first-time home buyers for lower price housing, with a cap on it. That's not going to work unless we also dramatically increase the housing stock. We need to do that, and I'm going to.
How can we do that?
The President of the United States and the federal government has very little control over zoning laws and over planning board laws, but there are incentive systems, and I'm going to assemble a task force to create incentives for localities to ease their planning regulations, zoning regulations, to allow sensible development of tiny houses, for example. We now have the capacity. We think of low-income housing, and it's these big, ugly monstrosities, but that is not how it has. Only have an option to go to the military. They're
building like crazy. Everybody I know that owns a house, and the supply is going to increase. So you would allow that to happen, or somehow intervene to do that?
I would encourage that to happen. I'm going to. I'm also going to bring in. I'm going to start a domestic Peace Corps. So a lot of the people who might otherwise only have an option to go to the military can do their service to America. And I'm going to there's 280 malls that have gone bankrupt in this country, and I'm going to turn those into factories to build prefab houses, and I'm going to bring kids into those factories and teach them the trades, teach them electricity, HVAC, carpentry, and start
I thought it was going to be a sweatshop for a second, my bad. Please continue.
You got a lot of realtors that can't. In this market, there are no transactions, so they'll probably sign up for your domestic Peace Corps. Let's move to something else. I often talk about we talk about income inequality, but it's always on the income side. I'll call it a financial statement. The other side is the debit side. If you're poor, middle class, you're paying 29% credit card debt. We threw out fiduciaries. There are payday lenders. cigarettes on taxes, which mostly the poor and middle class. You look at lottery tickets, you look at just so many things. And whenever anybody looks at that, they always look at the income side. Not that we shouldn't tackle that. But the debit side, if you take all that and add it up, 30% of what income they do get from Social Security or for minimum wage jobs is being eaten up by all of these other things that are all promoted by special interests. And we let them get away with it. And I wish someone would attack that, because that hurts the poor as much as not having enough income.
I have a friend who's been a lifetime friend of mine, who's a commercial fisherman out of Wellfleet, Massachusetts, and he's struggling, right? He handed his fishing business down to his son, but he doesn't have a pension or anything.
All right, boys. I think we're gonna finish this video. Another live stream, very long. Guys, if you wanna watch it, hold up. Easy. Here's the full video, or you could look up RFK. We'll finish this on another live stream. I'm gonna get something to eat, relax for a bit, then we'll probably get back on this, boys. But hope you enjoyed the live stream. Please like it. It'll probably be turned into a video or something. I want to wrap this up with a bow and some cherries on top, I guess. Recession probably incoming. Gotta be prepared for that. It's not gonna be fun. It's not gonna be easy, as you guys know. You guys are smart people. It's gonna be tough, but we're gonna get through it one way or another by the grace of God. By Jesus, God bless you guys. I'm probably voting for RFK, guys. RFK for the win. W's. Yeah, that's what I'm voting for, boys. Most likely. God, keep on investigating. Make sure I come up with a logical choice. And I'm leaning towards more RFK the more streams I do. But probably gonna vote for that fella. Guys, be careful out there. God bless you. Probably another live stream in a bit, or a video, or whatnot. Yeah. This will be up today. Guys,